mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what? Yeah. You know I be on a what? Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what? Yeah. It's all hard, ain't no fear here. You ain't giving this at all, you steer clear. Never beat, I've been down and I reappear. You got some money on the line, you better put it here. Rolling in and doing that work. Check priorities, I'm doing that first. Checks big and I'm sure that hurts, but it's checkmate, we ain't selling short, no the work. Ain't nowhere to hide. You ain't gotta see me come and keep me on your mind, cause I be on the work.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Dane from NYYU. We'd like to welcome you to the Farm Report. Los, how we doing today, bud?
Good. How are you doing?
After this weekend, I was so excited getting to watch that Breakout series. It was one of the most exciting games I've watched in a long time.
I wanted more.
Yeah, I did too. And we got to give MLB baseball some big props for doing this. They hit a home run with this series. It got fans a chance to see all these kids that we talk about, but no one ever gets to see. And the first guy that made the big impression on me was Brock Selvidge. We interviewed Brock. We knew that he was an incredibly impressive young man. You came back from Tampa, said that he was the guy that stood out to you the most. What did you see from him in that game? What were your thoughts?
He was just on fire. It was more of what I saw when I came back from Tampa, and I told you when I went down to the complex, he was the guy that impressed me the most. And he had told me that day that he was going to pitch in the breakout game. I didn't know he was going to start it. I was expecting maybe an inning, maybe two at most I found out that he was a starter because they took so many pitchers with them, but he was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I think he went three no-hit innings. In the fourth inning, he gave up that leadoff triple and then goes on to strike out the side. Four innings, eight strikeouts, a hit, a walk. Absolutely tremendous game from him. Put him on a map for a lot of people, especially Yankee fans.
I think he put himself on a map in a big way. I think he's going to be someone we're talking about. Like we talk about Chase Hampton this year, someone who can come up next year. And the control is elite with him. The command is even better with the fastball. The whole pitch mix works together. We saw him reach back for a little extra velo. We saw him get up to 97 once. I was incredibly impressed, and I think he's going to be a big part of the future rotation.
Yeah, I'm a big Brock fan. I have been for a while now, and just to see him in this game, the way he pitched, he broke out. He completely broke out. So I'm really glad for him. Like I said, it puts him on the map for a lot of people, especially for Yankee fans.
Yeah, for sure. And they're going to like what they see in him. He's a competitor, and he figures out ways to beat you. But sticking with the pitching, the other guy that stood out was Henry Lalane. I mean, how could you not be impressed by what you saw from that kid? What were your impressions?
I was happy that lots of Yankee fans got to see him. It's just usually a small niche of Yankee fans that follow Yankee prospects. But to see him on that mound, he pitched really well. The velocity was in the mid 90s. I don't think he got to 98 or nothing like that, but he was in the mid 90s. He pitched a solid two innings. A lot of fans were impressed with him.
He got up to 97.6, I saw once or twice, but then he would hit you with that 77-mile-an-hour curveball. I mean, as Kevin said in the show that we did a couple days ago, who's going to hit that? You have to sit fastball to even have a chance.
Yeah, you were talking about a 20 mile an hour difference between the fastball, and I think it was the change that he threw at 77. Just filthy.
Yeah, and with that arm angle, he creates great deception. He hides the ball well. And the command is something from a guy that size you don't see very often, especially at such a young age.
Right.
Everybody else who's that tall struggles with repeating mechanics. His mechanics are clean. His delivery is clean. It's not high effort. What else can you ask for in a pitching prospect that he doesn't have?
I mean, he's got the best command in the system, arguably. The velocity is already there. The breaking stuff is really good. The slider is nasty. We've spoken about him a lot. He's just a guy that I'm really excited to see this season. Heading into his first season. He should be starting at Tampa this year. So
Yeah,
hopefully we get to see a lot of him. Of course, he's also got an innings cap issue. He only threw 21 innings last year, but
right.
I'm really excited to see him.
I think that innings issue is the only reason that Baseball America prediction that he ends up in AAA this year won't come true. I just don't think that the Yankees will let him get 120, 140 innings that it would
Absolutely
take to
not.
get him up. They're going to
Mm-mm.
take their time with him and just kind of see what happens. But I think he's going to be one of our top pitching prospects by this year, next year, if not sooner.
Yeah, there's definitely no need to rush him. Like I just said, he's got an innings cap. You're looking at maybe getting him maybe 80 innings this year. The fact that Baseball America said that possibly getting him to AAA, I remember I texted you immediately. I think you had asked me about that, and I just laughed because it's just crazy. Does he have the skill set for that? Is he capable of doing it? Maybe, possibly, but there's just no need to rush him. The Yankees will not
No,
rush him like that at all either. And like I said, there's just no need for it.
no,
Let's
not
let's
with
let's
guys.
let's let him get to Tampa and get to Hudson Valley. I see his season of success if he can get to Hudson Valley this year, and then next year we'll talk about Somerset.
If he gets any higher than Hudson Valley, he had a hell of a season.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
just my opinion.
Hmm.
But as going back to your point about not rushing, we have guys like Brock and Chase in front of him where we don't need him in the rotation. There's no reason to rush him
Hmm.
right to the big leagues. Let him develop. I think he's going to add more velocity as he fills out. I think the breaking pitches, which are already really good, are going to just get better. Um, the sky's the limit for that kid. I think he's going to be our best pitcher that we've developed since Pettit.
Yeah, no argument for me there. Like I said, he's 19 years old, best command in the entire system. The velocity's already there. He'll probably add another tick or two by the time he's 21. Um, yeah, definitely going to be one of the best pitching prospects in the system within the next year or two, if not by the end of the season.
Yeah, and he might be one of the best pitching prospects in baseball in the next year or so. But moving on to the offensive side of the ball, Spencer Jones absolutely just showed out.
Hmm.
We got to see, I mean, Lombard got on base with that beautiful hit to right field, taking the ball the other way, and Spencer stepped in the box. And when he hit that pitch, you knew it was gone off the bat. It was just no questions of doubt about it. But in the second at bat, when he chopped that ball in between first and second base, the fact that he hesitated and still beat
Hmm.
out that play, that was by far the most impressive thing to me, period. They clocked him at 29.8 feet per second, which is top 10 in baseball, is the fastest they clocked anyone in any of the spring series. Took a bad route to that ball that Brock uh, had dropped for a triple.
Hmm.
He probably should have caught that ball, but other than that, he looked absolutely like he is the elite player that Baseball America has been talking about, and we've been talking about for a long time. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, there's nothing you can't say anything about him. He just continued to do exactly what he was doing, what he's been doing in spring training all season, spring training long. Absolutely phenomenal game for him. 2 home runs. He had that infield single with that Baltimore chop was showing off his speed that people have been talking about for some time. You actually got to see it on display. Sky's the limit for Spencer Jones. Sky's the limit for Spencer Jones. I know some Yankee fans are talking about putting him on the roster right now and starting
No,
him breaking with the team. I think that's a little crazy, but then again, they said the same thing about Jason Dominguez last year. Spencer needs a little bit more time of development. He has to go back to Somerset and show that the work he put in the off season, is boding well for him, and there's some changes there. I know the strikeout rate last year was a little crazy. He got up to 34% at one point. He finished in the second half of the season really well, closing down on that K rate. This year in spring training, I think it was down to 12.5%, which is absolutely
12.5.
amazing for him. Absolutely amazing for him. I want to see that in Somerset.
Yeah, I agree. Jason Dominguez is kind of the blueprint that I go back to for this. He had an amazing spring last year, went to AA and struggled. And then when he put it together in July, he just absolutely took off and was in the majors in a month and a half. if Spencer Jones is up this year, either he played so well that he forced the Yankees' hand, or we have some very serious injury problems.
Yeah, I think I've said that before. If you see Spencer Jones this year, something has terribly gone wrong with this season. There might be even a couple injuries. Maybe even Jason Dominguez has a few setbacks. Because there's no reason that the Yankees should see him this year, in my opinion. He's got Dominguez in front of him. He's got Grisham in front of him, and Verdugo in front of him. Maybe even Everson in front of him, because he's just on the 40 man. So I don't see a reason why the Yankees would force him to the Bronx just yet.
No, we've got enough outfield depth where we don't need him just yet. We need to see him go prove that the swing decisions and the strikeout rate are actually improved because all, as we talked about last year, that was a real big concern. But he looks like he has made great strides to fix it. I don't know. The future's bright there.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Now, the guy that surprised me was TJ Rumfield. What did you think of TJ?
Big home run for TJ. Was happy for him. I know he didn't play much last season because of the injury. I think he might have even ended the season on the IL. But just really glad for him. He's probably a guy that we might see either back at Somerset, possibly even at Scranton. With if Ben Rice is going to get more time behind the plate.
Yeah, I could see that. He's a absolutely elite defender at first base. He won the minor league gold glove there, which is not easy. Um, I last year we saw the strikeout numbers go up and the power go up. The year before he was a more of an average hitter.
With
We'll
no
have to
pop
see.
or very little
Right.
pop. So you want to
We'll
find a
have to
happy
see.
medium somewhere in between there.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to say. Thank you. Hey guys, if you have questions for us, throw them in the chat and Pete will read them to us at the end of the show. Anyway,
Okay,
thank
so
you guys.
back to TJ. The power showed up big time this year, and I don't know if it was just that he sold out completely for it. Because last year he was a lot more of a contact hitter, not that much pop. But this season it was almost a reversal of it, right? You had a lot more home
Right.
runs, the batting average dipped, so did the on base percentage. So I hope that he can find a happy medium somewhere in between there, where the average doesn't dip that low, and the on base stays a bit higher than what it was last season.
But I think first base is obviously the thinnest position in the entire system. It's the one
Absolutely.
position where we really don't have much.
Hmm.
If TJ can get a balance between the power and the strikeouts and continue that elite fielding, he may end up at first base for us. And I think having an elite defender there makes the whole infield better. So that's a
Yeah,
big plus
absolutely.
for him.
Yeah, absolutely. If you've been around since the Teixeira days, you've seen how much of a difference that makes, or even with Rizzo, you've seen how much of a difference it makes having a first baseman who's not just there because that's the only open position,
Like Luke Voigt.
or as some people say, put Juan Soto there.
No, no, goodness, no. But who else stood out to you in this game?
In that game, well, I think that was pretty much it. It was just Lalane. Well, Jack Neely also pitched really well. He did have
Right.
an error, which led to an unearned run, but I'm a huge fan of Jack Neely. Jack Neely was the only guy last season, or the relief pitcher last season, to strike out 100 batters over 66 innings. He's another one of those big pitchers, 6'8". For me, he's a future closer. I really like Neely. Didn't get to see him though because the Nets game came on, so I had to read about it.
When that happened, when that cut out in that Nets game, that was so unfortunate because I was right when Spencer was hitting that second home run, and
Yeah.
he absolutely that one he caught all of that went
Mm.
over the camera wall and everything else. It was impressive. But getting to Neely, he didn't have his best stuff or the stuff that
Hmm.
we saw from him last year.
Hmm.
It wasn't quite as sharp, but we've seen how good this kid could be last year. He struck out
Hmm.
7 guys in 2 2/3 innings last year. He's come in and shut down lineups many, many times. I
Yeah,
agree with you.
I think last season he came into two games where he struck out seven straight batters in both games, if I
Right.
remember correctly.
Yeah, that's what I remember too. And he was just he's special. And I think if he were on any other team that didn't have as deep a bullpen as we do, he'd be getting a longer look this spring.
Yep, I agree with you there. It's just a matter of, there's a numbers crunch on this team. There's a few guys in the pecking order in front of him. And I think that's just basically what it comes down to.
Yeah. Now, moving into George Lombard, because I have been incredibly impressed with that kid all spring
Hmm.
training. That swing is one of the best swings I've ever seen on an 18-year-old. I think he's going to end up and be our future third baseman. I think he
Yeah,
is a special, special talent.
yeah, that's where I like him. I could see him long-term third baseman, clearest path to the Yankees right now because as weak as the Yankees are at first base within the system, the same thing at third base. There's not much depth besides like Tyler Hardman in the upper levels. There's a clear path for him there, all the way throughout the system if he moves to third base. So I was a little surprised that in the game he played second base.
I was too, but I think the reason why was Viva. We need somebody at third base right now. Vivas is obviously the closest one. He has experience there. I think they want to get him as much exposure at that position and see if he
Hmm.
couldn't fill that role with DJ and Praz out. So I didn't really
Yeah.
have a problem with Vivas at third
No,
or
I don't think I had a problem with it. I was just surprised by it. But like you said, that does make sense. And I think might have been yesterday. I think he played shortstop in the game yesterday.
yeah.
So maybe the writing is on the wall there.
Where do you see him starting the season? Tampa or Hudson Valley?
Vivas?
No,
Grant.
Lombard.
Oh, Lombard. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he starts at Hudson Valley. Because if you
Yeah,
put him at Hudson Valley, he's a little bit more. I guess he's a little bit more polished than Arias. Um, you know how it is, but there's an I still I don't care what anybody says. There's an IFA bias.
a little
Um,
bit.
a little bit. There's I could see him starting at Hudson Valley. It also would give him full reps at shortstop and Roderick at shortstop as well. There wouldn't be a lot
Right.
of changing, bouncing back and forth between second or third base. My only hope is that, if you start to see the clear-cut winner, that somebody eventually moves to another position and we don't have another Trey Sweeney situation where Sweeney continues to play shortstop, even though we know that he's blocked at the next level and at the major league level, which made absolutely no sense.
No, I don't want to see that situation again. If they're going to put him at third base, put him at third base, let him get experience there all the way up and just let him develop at that position. He's got the body for it. He's already grown 4 or 5 inches since we drafted him. He's still filling out. I think he's got a huge, huge future with us. And I think he reminds me a lot of Manny Machado or Carlos Correa.
Yeah, in even the last episode, Kevin mentioned that. Shout out to Kevin. He did mention that he like
Kev.
this reminded him of Manny Machado, and I definitely saw that. And which is why I think that he could make the easy transition to third base because they have the similar builds.
Yeah, I would agree. Now, Caleb Durbin came in and looked pretty impressive. Do you think that we see him this year?
I mean, it depends. I think it would depend on. There's a couple of factors. How fast he gets off. I think he's probably going to Scranton. He played really well in the Arizona Fall League. He played
He
well at
did.
Somerset too. So I could see him starting the year at Scranton, and it depends on how fast he gets off there. I mean, even this spring training, he got off a little bit slow, but he has just been on fire as of the last couple weeks.
Yeah, he has. And he was a throw-in trade in the Lucas Litke deal. And the Yankees have done a really good job developing him. The strikeout rate's incredibly low. The bat to ball skills are elite. He's a modern leadoff hitter. I don't know if he's going to be that
Absolutely.
for us,
Hmm.
but you can definitely see that in his profile.
Yeah, when I look at him, I see like a Chuck Knobloch with just more speed.
Yep, I agree. Now, Pete, you want to throw some questions at us? All right, Tats, go ahead, Los.
Three kids. Will Warren is one of them. Louis Hill. Got me on the third guy though.
Clayton Beater.
Beater could be another guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think those three, we have seen them all perform very, very well this spring. We were hoping one or two of them look good. They all three have
Hmm.
looked very, very good. Louis Hill added that change up. He went from the straight change to the circle change. He's throwing that everywhere in the zone. He's looked phenomenal so far. And Will Warren, yeah, he got roughed up against Boston's A lineup, but that was mostly defense. And you saw him come back and pitch well even after
Yep.
he got hit hard.
Yeah,
I think
and you
he
want to see that. You want to see that with a young pitcher. You want to see him get on the ropes and be able to figure it out and not implode. And you saw that from Will Warren. And just one more thing before you move on for Louis Hill. To me, I think he's probably been the best of the bunch, but the only thing
I
that's hindering
agree.
him is how many innings can the Yankees get out of him. And I think that's probably why you're going to see Will Warren as the guy that they pick.
Right, because Warren's gone 120 innings plus back-to-back years, which means that he can go 150, 160, where
Hmm.
he'll probably is going to get somewhere between 80 and 100. And Boone brought that up yesterday, I believe it was. I think you're going to see Heel and Beater in a bullpen role where they're kind of piggyback off starters to get extra length, at least to
Hmm.
start. That's just my thought. Pete, go ahead.
2025 for me.
I think there's a chance late this year if a need arises, but more likely 2025. And what was the other question, Pete? In terms of at the major league level, I
Yeah.
think you're going to see Will Warren be that guy. Kylie picked him to be a rookie of the year candidate. I think you're going to see him pitch very, very well. This is a kid that pitched to a 3.5 ERA in AAA when everybody else was closer to five. He's a really, really good starter for me. But lower levels, I think Jerson Alejandro and Angel Benitez are two guys that are going to open some eyes like Legrand, excuse me, and Lalane did this year.
Yeah, for me, I've been saying for a while now. I think Will Warren is a guy that at the major league level will surprise some people. I think it was a streamer gave a prediction of like a low 4 ERA for him, just around 100 innings. I could definitely see that, and that's a win for me. At the lower levels, it's probably going to be Lalane, and after talking with Greg for so much, maybe even Jackson Fristow.
Yeah, Jackson Fritzl is a good call. He's added some velo, but what role do you see him in? You think he's a reliever, starter?
Still starter.
Okay.
I want to see these kids as starters until you just say, hey, this isn't going to happen anymore.
Okay. Pete,
Yeah, so that's all the questions we have right now, but I want to put you guys on the spot. Is that okay?
please.
Okay, here we go. You ready for this?
Uh-huh.
2026. Take me around the horn of the Yankees infield, outfield, and DH. If everything goes
Low.
right, prospect system, don't worry about trades. Don't even think about trades.
Okay.
Dominguez in left, Spencer in center, Judge Soto in right field. At third base, 2026. Um,
Just do it.
I'm gonna
Dude,
go.
Just
just say Lombard,
I'm
damn
gonna
it.
no, I'm
just
not gonna
do
say
it.
Lombard. I don't think Lombard's gonna be by 26. I'm gonna say Tyler Hardman at third base, Roderick at shortstop, Volpe at second base, at first base, Ben Rice behind the plate. You're gonna have Wells and Augustine.
Mine is very similar. I would have Lombard at third base, though. I think he might even be up before Roderick. That kid's so
So you think he's gonna be up at
advanced.
20?
Yeah, I do. From based on what I've seen so far, I think that kid is that advanced. Um, Jones needs to be the center fielder. The defense out there is elite. Jason makes a phenomenal left fielder, especially with his speed and how big the left field is in Yankee Stadium. And you put Soto and Judge as a DH right field combo, and then you bat those guys 1, 2, 3, 4 in the order, and I think you're going to see special things. Macho had a question in there about third base in the near future. I think you could see Jared Cerna there. I think you could see Caleb Durbin maybe get some reps there. I think you could see Vivas in the future get some reps there.
I think you'll see Jared Turner playing shortstop this year at Somerset. That makes the most sense to me. As far as third base in the system, it's in the upper levels. It's Hardman and my hopes is Lombard.
Right. It really is Lombard or maybe Arias's position to
Or that.
take. So Grace.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say there's no other questions that I have right now, but I do want to ask you guys this. Based off of what we've seen from, I mean, it's not much from TJ Rumfield, but if you look at Dane, you mentioned it a little earlier. You said that there's obviously a need at first base for the Yankees when it comes to prospects. We also saw, which I thought was pretty interesting in the breakout game, that Ben Rice got the start at catcher over Augustine Ramirez. He was not the starter at catcher. He DH'd, which we know Goose has an amazing bat.
Right.
For the future going forward, do you think if you had to choose one of these guys to become the first baseman, is it Rice or Rumfield for you guys after Rizzo?
Rice for me.
Yeah, I'm going Rice.
Okay.
Just the reason why is I believe I've seen Rice's bat perform at a very high level. He had 324 last year with 22 home runs. That's not an accident. And I think that bat will play at a higher level than TJ. I could be very wrong, but that's just what I see for right now.
And I believe Tim had one also. Tim, I'm actually looking for it right now. Tim. Let's see. Ask Dane and Los, how many catchers, potential top catchers do we have in the system, and are any likely to be part of a trade if we do need to make one?
I think for
Catcher
me,
is
the most likely candidate to be traded would be Carlos Narvaez. He has value, and there's just no room for him in the organization.
Catcher is by far the deepest position in this entire farm system. You have multiple guys at every level going down to the DSL and even just signed that have major league upside. I think that you could see Narvaez, Rortvet traded. I think the future behind the plate in the near future is Wells and Goose, but I think any other catchers are fair game to trade, especially Ben Rice.
Who's I got a question for you guys. I think this is pretty fun one. Who's the prospect who is catching eyes that you guys don't believe? So is there a prospect out there that a lot of people are talking about it? You watch him and you go, I just don't see it.
Yeah. I don't want to say it though.
Say it. No, say it. Say it. It's your
I don't
opinion.
know who that is for me.
Ben Rice. I'm not, as much as I was impressed by what he did last year, I need to see it in another sample size to believe it's real, because while the power was incredible last year, it was brand new. And I need to see him do that again and prove that he wasn't just on an extended hot streak.
Fair game.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've said something along those lines. It's just not that I don't believe it. For me, it's just something that I need to see more of it. I think we've spoken about this at length. Was he just hot? Was he locked in, or did he discover something new within his swing? I think that's the question.
Right.
I think that's really the question.
And, Judge's swing coach says he's going to be really good, expects big things from him. I want to see it. I'm a tough guy to convince that a complete change in a prospect's profile is real in a small sample size. I need to see more.
That's it for
I
the
saw
questions on this side.
there was a Crackle Nuts had a question about closer. Who in the system do we see that could be a potential closer?
For me, I've said this before. I think it's Jack Neely. He just has really elite stuff. Fastball slider is nasty. Last year he pitched 66 innings. The only relief pitcher with 100 strikeouts. He has pretty good command, and even at the lower levels, I've said this to him before. If the starting pitching thing doesn't work out for Carlos Lagrange, you could
Yeah.
see like a Dylan Betances 2.0 right there.
There's a number of guys down there that have that kind of stuff. Luis Velasquez is another one that I see
Also,
as
yeah.
being in that future role. But I think
Mhm.
the guy that's going to make the biggest impact this year is probably going to be Nick Birdie. I think Birdie can probably work his way into the back of that bullpen. And when Clay Holmes goes through his period when he can't throw strikes, I think he'll be someone that you could see in that setup closer role and be really, really good. So I think that's going to do it for us, guys. We're going to let you guys get to the game. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. We'll
Thanks,
see you
guys.
next week.
Top 10 radar, yeah, we on your radar. Never miss, dog, and that's on occasion. Yeah, we on your radar. Hey, look, top floor, lifestyle, chef and boy, I'm cooking up. Way too high, ain't coming down, you see me if you looking up. I don't really talk too much, so I'm running numbers up. Lucky that I'm strong enough, I'm going
Steals.
off